to do it like that.
Millions of criminals into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted, no authority to do so. Yet I, in order to make up for this assault on our nation, am expected to go through a lengthy legal process separately.
Hi guys, this is Alan again.
Two different standards, only leading to the complete and total destruction of the USA, make America great again.
Again, writing about target individuals and voice to skull and all that kind of stuff. They had Havana syndrome. And if you remember this, around 2015, 2016, the Florida state shooter, Myron May, is a lawyer. He did 3 videos on YouTube describing what it's like being a guinea pig for the federal government. They get to try out. I'm not an anti-law enforcement, or never have been. I know there's some bad people, or they get stressed and they get called into bad, scary situations and sometimes make bad decisions. That can happen literally to anybody. Turn that down, I guess. And get my hat.
The need to protect our borders. That's what got him elected. He needs to focus on the big picture, not the details of his case.
You know, but the thing is, we understand that, but then I was never anti-cop or any of that stuff. I know they have stressful jobs, but all I know is after I'd broken my shoulder and my arm after high school football practice, and they fixed that, but then it was like 1980, 86, somewhere around there, 86, something like that, say 87, something like that. Getting these sharp spots, stabs in the chest, and then it would just periodically happen. And I tried to tough it out, and I did. After a number of years, I got pain meds, and I was thankful for that. Very thankful, because even you don't expect your doctor to know everything, but then to go get send me to specialists and all this, and literally for 30 years, the one thing about the idea of, I've heard of things like MK Ultra, but I wouldn't have believed it. The people in my town that I was from, Dallas, Oregon, Texas, were pretty good people. I didn't have run-ins with them. I thought they were all pretty good, and I didn't, I never thought I was being The only thing I constantly knew, is that I was always in a side pain, and it took away a lot of my emotion. What I mean by that is that there's a thing on my side right here, and it feels like it's sucking the emotion out of you. It's like there's something that's just an electrical thing that you try to meditate and pray, or just to get it to relax and to feel your normal emotions. This is not normal. I kept on praying every day, just day and night, just like, this is not right. This is not normal. And so you go through the rundowns, you look up stuff on the internet, you try, what is this left side pain, and why can't I feel much emotion, and that causes depression and all that. And I never would have, I just didn't think that. I didn't think that. The town is very conservative, very religious. They're very proud of it. And when it culminated into an extreme, people holding up their phone and all this gang stalking, it's a weird term and it sounds nuts. But the idea that there's, I don't know how many real people there are. I don't know, but I'm thankful PAX International and Targeted Justice. We know that there's the feds, get in there and infiltrate, and I don't even try to speculate numbers and how much of this and how much, because I don't like to call people, I'm just thankful that I can relate to people who are going through the same thing I'm going through. Even if some of them are feds, it's just like, I can at least relate to them, and maybe they'll still give me some information like that. And when it's like this one sign. That's what I wrote. I waited 30 years to find out what caused my left side pain. I finally found out it was done to me on purpose for money by my Drain the Swamp hometown. It's like 30 years waiting for. I was just hoping that, I thought maybe after breaking my arm, my doctor, a different doctor made a mistake. But then around 2015, out of the blue, the weird behaviors and then hearing the people yapping. And they're trying to build up a psych, make it sound like you're nuts. They want to see how far, what'll work on you, your personality, what'll work to cause pain, and to see how it affects your personality. And the other thing is, they want to see how much pull the deep state wants to know, how much pull they have over the regular people. Will those people, whether it be professionals in this group or that group, if they give them money, will these people in this town do your bidding? It wasn't called the deep state back then in the 80s or 90s. It's just, FBI, CIA, the feds. There were some bad people in there, but didn't have the gross, horrible reputation of the deep state that came out around the 2015, 2016. MK Ultra in the 75, the church hearings, the Frank Church, the senator, named after him because it was found out that a lot of the papers that found out what the CIA and the feds were doing, including the FBI. And so the main guy, Gottlieb, was trying to find the paperwork and, burn it, get rid of the evidence. But thousands of papers did find. I don't know if anybody went to prison during that time, though. I don't know. But it's not that I have so much of a wish for vengeance. I just want this to be fixed. I hate cruelty of any kind. I hate it. I hate it because it was done to me. I don't like it when it's done to animals. I don't like it when it's done to people. Much less, it's one thing if I had enemies and hurt somebody and put something in there, made them mad at me, but there's just nothing there. People were pretty nice to me, and I was nice to them back. I just, there wasn't enemies. I didn't have any people against me, and I thought they were pretty good people themselves, too. But the idea that they would actually try to get money from a grant from MK Ultra and, the whole thing is to diminish you as a person, to diminish your heart, your emotions, your will, to break you, and have you take yourself out through suicide. And in my case, and it sounds like a nutty show from the 80s or something, like the idea that they would implant a tooth or implant a directed energy weapon like Havana syndrome, which is really just a brain-computer interface. They put a little thing in your body, your brain, and it's a receiver, and then they can remote neural monitor what you're doing, what you're going through, your thoughts through a brain-computer interface, what you're thinking in real time, and then speak about it to you through a chip. And it sounded like crazy talk when it was in movies in the 80s, but they really do have it. In fact, it's even called, the chip is called telepathy because of artificial telepathy. People being able to read your private thoughts. They don't have to listen to you talk. And in real time, you can hear them talk back and forth to you, about what you're privately thinking. You can be thinking about a cartoon and keeping it to yourself, but they'll read it back to you. And they'll be talking to their friend at the Fusion Center or wherever it is, federal. They hired out probably to contractors too, but It's like the Fed 6 thing, or January 6. They infiltrate. It's like in Israel. They keep on coming off topic here. Every couple months on our news, it's always about Iran, and they need to stop because they're about to make another bomb, a nuclear bomb. And I saw stuff from the 1990s where they were talking about Iran's about to make the bomb and another bomb, nuclear bomb, and they forgot that just 8 months, maybe a year ago, their whole bomb program got infiltrated by Mossad. Like a huge percentage of was infiltrated. Like whenever they get close to making a progress on making plutonium or bombs, and then Israel has people working for them, espionage. They're Iranians, but they're also secretly working for Israel and sabotaging or reading back to Israel how far they are. And if something, if they're getting too close, they can just destroy it, destroy the production, or kill the scientists and the president like they did some months ago with the helicopter. And anyway, that's just another side note about Iran. But it's funny, when you believe and are raised to believe America and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and especially drain the swamp, and you think our people in our hometown would not do it. Our people in Salem wouldn't do it. Salem, Oregon. And yet they are doing this. The prodigal, not the prodigal son, but it's like, anyway, I'm off topic. I was going to show that. I don't know if this will show it very well, but it's a little too bright. It is. It's too bright right there. But if you can see that, that's where I put like a magnet to kind of try to relax my side. But right in this area, there's some capillaries that are, it's right around this area. That there's broken capillaries from the radiation, years of radiation, and there's a bump right here that you can't see it too well here, but there's a bump from a directed energy implant. And they do it to see the effects of how it sucks the emotions out of a person, and to see how it works on a person, sucks the emotion out of a person. And I don't know, they might even be trying to steal the emotions from a person and try to put that with artificial intelligence, like to make a AI sentient. They're not making emotions, they're stealing it. They would try anything. When you realize they are doing something this torture just to see what they can do and what they can get away with. In a town that's known for being conservative and religious, and even our grade schools have weekday school of the Bible. But if they can get secret money for torture, I mean, they're really big on, drain the swamp and the rights, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. But if they can take, in my case, a 14-year-old kid who breaks his arm during football practice, and while I'm under anesthesia, they can put something in my body, probably from whether it's for DARPA or some government defense organization, to experiment how this works on a person, and how much the people in the town will work to cover it up and lie and to cover it up, while the next day they're complaining about how corrupt our government is, and they're doing worse than what our government's doing. They're part of they're taking the money and helping protect. They could drain the swamp in a huge way. They could be on Tucker's or Fox News breaking this groundbreaking story of how people in the past, 30, 40 years ago did this, and say this is horrible. people made mistakes, and I'm not trying to hurt their lives or take their pensions or their careers, but it needs to be known because of what was done to me, but also don't want it to have happened to other people. People need to be aware that our government, and that's why I'm thankful for Trump. I'm a liberal. I would have voted for Bernie Sanders, but I saw how they keep on saying we have a vote, but they did this bullshit story of, he was winning. Sanders was winning. And suddenly, before Super Tuesday, they had all these people drop out. They made a narrative story that all these people dropped out from the Democratic side. Those people told their followers to suddenly get behind somebody, and that was enough to oversway the Bernie. It's like, no, that's the narrative we're supposed to believe. All those people together and their voters still was not enough. It still wasn't enough to overtake Bernie's people. Anyway, when you realize that that's what the liberal, and to hear Donald Trump finally call people out, whether liberal or conservative, or complain about the war, and it's like the Republicans were looking at it like, is this okay to say? Criticizing the war? Is that all right? Like, it's like, yeah, you're okay. It's okay to think and realize some bad decisions, and to have Trump do it. Holy cow. I know people make mistakes, and I'm not trying to jump on people. I can make mistakes. That's for damn sure. But the idea of putting stuff inside of a child or a young person's body, or a man or a woman, it was bad when they did it to prisoners. But there's just nothing wrong about this. Nothing right. It's all wrong. There's nothing good. It's all wrong what they're doing and trying to cover it up. My hope, and I guess President Trump is going to go into this, and hopefully there will be, like Cash Patel was saying, another Frank Church committee, because the CIA and the FBI, this stuff was horrible, what they've been doing to people, to animals, to experiment on animals, and then people like me who get treated worse, as bad as some of these animals. And I didn't sound like I had a criminal record or I had enemies. I didn't have enemies. They just told people in my hometown when I was 14, do it to him. He's under anesthesia. And it took me 30 years to even find out what it was that was being done to me. I went to the Ella Free Rally in Portland. It's on my YouTube site. Alan Brewer Nielsen on YouTube. Now, they made up another Alan Nielsen-Brewer YouTube that I didn't make, but they made another site with different stuff on there. But anyway, that's my hope. And as far as people thinking this stuff may not be true or something like that, well, let me help you out here. Forbidden Tech by these people, the authors, Naomi Morris, Tivon Rivers. That's the name of it. And it describes, of course, Nikola Tesla and all this stuff. They're really big on talking about that. But COINTELPRO, where they try to reduce a person through behavior or medicine or technology to experiment on people to reduce them to nothing. Their emotions are gone. Their intellect's gone. Slow kill. It's a directed energy weapon. And it's to reduce a person so they'll check out. They'll check themselves out. History of COINTELPRO, gang stalking, energy industry motives for the internet defamation, electronic harassment, testimony of V2K technology victims, mode of attack for a target individual, the Hutchinson effect, V2K patents to the technology, fractal antennas, chemtrails, and HARP. I don't know enough about that. Tracking patients using the stuff for tracking. Anyway, if you don't believe it, that's what I was reading. So, right there. Another one, Nick Begich, Controlling the Human Mind. Technologies of Political Control. Manchurian Candidate. back to MK Ultra. This is like 2006, I think. Lida, the Mind Wars, using neuroRights. We need neuroRights because that's where they are. They can look and read, just like Stephen Hawking. They can read what you're thinking in real time and have it read back to you. Brain entrainment. Anyway, there's some of this stuff if you can read it, but I encourage you to look at some of this stuff and see what it is, right there. And this book describes it perfectly. The Invisible Crime. Target individual synthetic telepathy and global criminal biomedical human experimentation by Michael Fitzhugh Bell. A true story. I know it's true because when you're not going through it, it sounds too crazy. No way. Why you? I mean, they wouldn't do this. They're good. You hear about it. It's like, it is true. When you explain it to people, it sounds nutty, but with Havana syndrome in the news and NIH funding the craziest gain of function stuff, just wasting money on cruelty, experimenting on animals growing ears and transgender mice, and they're just throwing things away on cruel experiments just to see if they can do it and get, gain of function. Let's create an already bad illness and make it worse to see if we can do it. And then make a vaccine for it and become rich off it. Let's create a whole new illness that'll kill millions, make a vaccine for it, and get rich off it instead of going to prison. Anyway, this is real. The person here, he later says he doesn't have V2K, so it makes you wonder, how does he know? But anyway, it's a pretty good book. So there's a lot of books on Amazon, but I would encourage people to go and look. And again, I wish I had a better thing to show you that side, but it's kind of right here, and there's a bump right here you can't see, but there's broken capillaries around where the bump is. I got a little gut going on. Anyway, my name's Alan Brewer Nielsen, and this is going to be coming out in the next. Robert Duncan, in his book, Project Soul Catcher, describes it on 282. And here's another one, Invasion Mind Control. And this talks about it's all about the dream manipulation, Syntel and electronic schizophrenia. So that when you describe this stuff to them, if it's a psychologist, they're not used to it, or even they're just told to call it schizophrenia because they've been told, hey, we get money, here's the policy of the hospital. Some of the people, Myron May, Esteban Santiago, electronic mind reading, optical, physiological monitoring, neural biometric signature, remote polygraph. This stuff, electronic mind reading, auditory, synthetic electronic dreams. They try this stuff out to see what they can do and get away with, and then try to usher people into a new spiritual eschatology, last day stuff. Voice to skull, right there, if you can see it, right there. Intracranial voice or microwave hearing effect from Alan Frey. Synthetic electronic telepathy. That's where we're at. And even with Elon Musk, it's a great technology that can help people that are handicapped so that they can communicate, or if they have locked-in syndrome. But our military can take a great technology and use it for a weapon. And they experiment on innocent people. They don't ask them, they just do this, put it in their body while they're under anesthesia for a different thing, a different operation. And then suddenly, 20, 30 years, if they're still alive and not dead from radiation or taking themselves out from pain, then they find out and hope, hey, doctor, please help me out. Now I know, hey, cops. The first time with the cops, they said, well, maybe you need to see a psychiatrist. First time I ever asked for their help. And then they brought me to, of course, a psych, hold, because my doctor had taken me off that type of pain med too, because OxyContin was in the news because of all the overdoses people were having. Anyway, on the third time I went to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. The second time I warned the police in Dallas and said, hey, the government's experimenting on people. And this is in 2019 after the Yellow Free rally in Portland. And I said, our government's experimenting on people, and people are going to get hurt, and it's not good, and it's dangerous. That was in 2019, and 2 months later, pandemic happened, and it made me and other TIs worry, target individuals. What they're doing to me, are they doing this now through a vaccine or through this sickness? Are they spreading it out throughout the world this way to control them, to spy? And, are they doing it? Scared people. The vaccines, is it biometric? Is it bioweapons? But there isn't this huge jump in the population yet. So I'm hoping that they're wrong. I'm hoping it's not some, but still, there's some doctors that are looking into the RNA and the bioweapon stuff. There's sometimes, I hope it's not. But I just hope with President Trump and RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, and I just hope that they and the other great people, that they can have a church meeting like Frank Church and then stop this abuse of our rights, our freedoms, and using us as guinea pigs, trying to get us to check out, to die. I hope they get exposed. I hope so that there can be laws. There already are laws. A lot of the TI stuff is to say there needs to be laws on the books. Well, there already are these laws. They're trying to make it sound like they need to catch up with the technology. That part might be true, but there already all are laws. The Constitution says you're not supposed to, to make technology for torture that's specifically done for the purpose of looking into thoughts. The Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment, being a witness against yourself. The Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual torture, punishment, torture. When you don't even have a criminal record or any enemies. I mean, they're making stuff on purpose that breaks the law in every way possible. And using the police to go, and doctors to go along with it. So hopefully there will be some smackdown. It's not that I love the idea of anybody in pain or prison, but this needs to stop. And it just needs to stop the torture and the pain. And I even gave them a note, a letter in Dallas to the police, and I have a copy of it saying, I'm not trying to even sue. It's not money or even embarrass people, but I just want it to stop. And they still didn't do it. So anyway, I hope that Trump will, and I hope it does. I hope it stops. So anyway, I got to go make my mom some dinner. So I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.